Hey, this is Jane for GameSpot. We're here at Captivate 2012 to talk about the just announced Lost Planet 3, here with Andrew and Oguro-san. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, why Lost Planet 3? Why now?
Well, I think Lost Planet the franchise is one of those franchises that's, a very strong Capcom IP, but that's closely associated with the current generation of hardware. It's one that's had a lot of different, iterations in the past. But we really wanted to put it out in front of people again to show them really what there is to love about the franchise in a new way.
Oguro-san, you worked on Lost Planet 2. What's been learned from Lost Planet 2, and what are the big differences between 2 and 3?
There's really two big differences between Lost Planet 2 and Lost Planet 3, and as you may know, Lost Planet 2 are focused almost purely on online multiplayer gameplay, whereas Lost Planet 3, we're really focusing strongly on the story, the narrative, and a cinematic atmosphere.
And what we've got, in fact, is a prequel to Lost Planet, to the first Lost Planet game. What's the setup? Tell us about it.
What we really want to do with Lost Planet 3 is what we're calling Return to Extreme Conditions, which is something that we know that people liked about the previous installments, was that idea of having a cold atmosphere, foreboding with the ice and snow and everything. In order to really kind of blow that out in a way that we've never done before, we decided to actually go back to the past to show the planet of EDN3, where the game takes place, before the events of Lost Planet 1.
Like you say, it's much more of a personal story and a sympathetic character. First of all, tell us about the new character, the new hero.
Jim, he's a frontiersman. He's one of the first colonists on the planet. And in order to illustrate just how harsh these conditions are, Jim kind of is a figurehead for the struggle against the environment and for survival within that environment.
You gotta be kidding me.
Okay, let's take it back to the basics, because we haven't actually touched on the action so much. It's a mix of third-person shooting and sort of first-person piloting. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, and when you're outside of the utility rig, which is the large machine that you'll be able to pilot in the game, when you're outside, it's third person, very similar to how the franchise has been in the past, using firearms to defeat your enemies. And then when you're inside the utility rig, we have a kind of changing things up with Lost Planet 3 by putting it in first person. And the main reason of doing that is in order to sell the scale of the utility rig. It's the biggest machine that we've ever had in the franchise up to this point. So when you're in that cockpit and you're literally looking down on the environment that you had just seen at eye level a few seconds before, and it really makes you feel not only the scale of the utility rig itself, but also the vastness of the environment.
But interestingly, it's huge, but it's also a construction vehicle rather than primarily a weapon.
That's correct. In the first two Lost Planet games, we had vital suits, which were these smaller, nimble, maneuverable, weaponized robots. And when we got to thinking about how this game takes place in the past, we thought that it was likely that the predecessor to the vital suit was probably not a military unit, it was probably a civilian unit. And it probably would have been bigger because, as we all know, technology tends to miniaturize over time. And that's kind of how we got the idea to go with this large construction machine. And that once again ties into Jim's character, because he's not a military man. He is a working class guy that has come to the planet to do contracts and provide for his family.
In fact, talking about Jim, the voice acting for Jim was incredible. It was really, really engaging, really natural. Is the voice actor someone notable, someone we should recognize from another game?
We're not revealing that just yet.
Oh, come on!
You'll definitely be seeing over the course of the next few months us introducing the voice cast, who also provides the facial capture for the actors, for the characters themselves. And so that's something that I think people can look forward to.
I am looking forward to it. Is it likeness and voice for Jim, a single actor?
That's correct.
Okay, and the personal story and making a story-driven game, kind of less online focused. Is that angling it towards a Western audience? Is that something learned from Lost Planet 2 and perhaps how it didn't perform quite the way you wanted?
So the change in the game direction from Lost Planet 2 to Lost Planet 3, moving from a co-op-based experience to a narrative-based experience, really doesn't have anything to do with the type of game that Lost Planet 2 was. To tell you the truth, Capcom, it's kind of in our DNA to consistently challenge new types of games, and I've worked at Capcom for many years, so it was a challenge for me and something that I look forward to. And thinking about where I wanted to take the Lost Planet franchise with Lost Planet 3, I really liked the idea of the extreme conditions, so I wanted to go back to that and see what I could do, but do it in more depth and more immersion, more atmospheric than I'd ever done before, and that's really the key concept for Lost Planet 3. We set it in a much colder, much more severe environment On top of that, because it's in the past, technologically, they didn't have the colonists who are there. First of all, they're the first people there, so they have to struggle against the environment in that regard. Plus, the technology that they have at their disposal is not as advanced as the technology that you would have seen in Lost Planet 1 and 2. So in these two regards, it's really not just them fighting against, for example, the Acrid, it's them fighting to survive, and doing that through a gameplay experience was my goal with Lost Planet 3.
You said that we can upgrade weapons, upgrade the character, and also the rig. Does the rig become weaponized? Can you kind of mount it with miniguns, anything like that?
Well, just tying back to what I talked about earlier, you know, the key for the utility rig is to show that this is Jim's property. You know, if he were a trucker, a long-haul trucker, that would be his truck. He eats in it, sleeps in it sometimes when he's out in the wilderness, and you know, so it really is what he uses to, you know, achieve his livelihood. And so, one of the things we are going to be exploring over the course of the game is kind of how did we get from there to the more weaponized vehicles that you see later on. And I think that you know, there'll be some great stuff in there for people who have played the previous games. But you know, we really want to focus on the utility rig as an extension of Jim's personality.
Okay, so is the intention to, with the story, lead into the beginning of the first Lost Planet game?
Indirectly, you know, they are separated by quite a bit of time, but even in the announced trailer that we've shown here at Captivate, there are hints in terms of kind of how things will lead into Lost Planet 1 from the world that Jim inhabits.
Okay, and we've seen you can hop out of the rig and you know, get into the third-person shooting and then hop back in. Is it a lot? Is it open world? Is it relatively open? Can you roam around a lot, or is it more linear and mission-based?
It's definitely mission-based. I wouldn't call it a true open-world game in terms of being able to go anywhere at any time and do anything, but it definitely offers you a lot more freedom than any of the previous Lost Planet games in the sense that you're going to be traveling through what we call hub-and-spoke type of areas, where you might have an outdoor area that has multiple branching paths to other areas. There might be a cave system here or a bluff that leads to kind of a mountainous area, and some of those will be accessible right off the bat. Others you'll have to, you know, get those upgrades for the character, get those upgrades for the utility rig in order to be able to access those areas. And so you'll have missions that will guide you throughout the story, you know, basically driving forward the narrative. You also have side missions and other side activities that you can do along the way.
The engine is so now it's Unreal. What can you tell us about the graphics and how the visuals have been coming along?
Yes, I'm extremely pleased with the results that we have achieved using the Unreal Engine 3, but you know, setting what type of engine we are using aside, more importantly, the art direction is what I'm extremely pleased with. You know, I had a vision for Lost Planet 3, and we've worked, as Andrew said, in a very collaborative effort with Spark Unlimited to achieve this vision, and what I see on the screen is exactly what I wanted, so it's great.
With the big steer towards story focus, maybe you can tell us, maybe you can't just yet. Is there any online, any multiplayer, anything like that?
There's definitely multiplayer. Multiplayer is very important for Lost Planet. We're not talking about the details of multiplayer at this point. We're going to be talking about you know, the various cooperative and competitive modes as we go on throughout the process. But you know, what's maybe one of the differentiating factors from the previous installment is when you're playing the single player campaign, it is very much a focused experience. It's focused on Jim. It's focused on his story and his narrative, and the player takes that journey with him. And then multiplayer, you know, is a very robust experience that is, you know, a complement to that.
Okay, and very impressive it was too. Finally, just when you expect the game to be out and for which platforms?
Lost Planet 3 is coming in early 2013 for PS3, Xbox 360, and PC.
Andrew Oguro, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.